Okay, welcome back, viewers, to turn 3. So this is the third video. I'll put the a link to part 1 and part 2. As you can see, the French are about to hit the defences. So we'll get on with turn 3 and see what happens.
It is the momentum phase.
The momentum phase. Neither side have lost any baggage or generals or brigades, or haven't been lost or anything, so they're still starting with their same starting. So the French, they start with 8 and the Russians start with 6.
Step 2, the skirmish phase.
So the skirmish phase, here we go. A bucket of dice again. A couple of cocked ones. And we'll see how many sixes the Russians again have won the skirmish battle. So they're up by a factor of 2, which will give them an extra momentum, and the Russians will be going first. So an extra momentum for the Russians. They're up to 7, and they have the initiative. They'll be going first.
Must do something.
Oh, no.
It is the intervention phase.
In the intervention phase, we could do an emergency formation change. But we don't need any of that, I don't think. Both sides are going to keep their charismatic leaders for later on. So they're not going to use it for momentum. They're not going to use it for an emergency formation change. They're going to save them as charismatic leaders, and they're going to move around with their brigades. So we've got Ney here, and Maloredovich is up on the hill there.
Here is a time for action. It is the orders phase.
The Russians going first. Their first order of the day. They've got so many options. I think the best option will be to volley. Look at all those guns they have. So volley is a global order. It means that the French will be able to interrupt because it's all happening at close range, but we'll start from left to right and move along the table, and the French will just have to cop this volley before they can interrupt. So starting up the extreme left. So I can give you a summary of the shooting, and it wasn't that successful. I'll show you the highlight in a minute, but so this unit up this end, we have 1 casualty, 1 disruption on this battalion. This one in here took 3 from shooting. This one down here took 2 from shooting, and the big one was this. I'll show you that one. This will probably be a highlight, so let's have a look at it more closely. We've got the heavy battery here, and they've got these bases lined up on this poor battalion, which have taken 1 permanent hit already. They do have an artillerist nearby, but he only helps with bombarding. But being a heavy battery, they can re-roll 1s to hit when volleying. So they'll have 10 dice, re-rolling 1. Oh, that's a lot of hits. So they've got 8 hits, and they have 1 reroll. So reroll this one. So they've got 9 hits. 9 out of 10 have hit. So this battalion's in a bit of trouble. See if they can convert these into actual hits. Oh, the dice have turned around. They've only converted 2. So the dice have turned around. So these guys, there's only 4 plus, so there's only 2 actual conversions. So these guys have taken 2 new hits. They've got 1 permanent, but 3 hits overall. I think they got out very lightly after 9 out of 10 canister hits. So the summary continues. So the unit in the middle dodged a bullet there, only taking 2 new hits, and the Jaeger inflicted 1 up the other end here. So not a very successful volley. I thought that middle guns were going to blow that unit away, but they survived. Very telling. Let's see what happens next. So the French will interrupt. General Marshal Ney here. He's contemplating what could have been a disaster moving up there, and the Russians winning the initiative. Winning the skirmish phase and getting to go first and get off that giant volley before the French had a chance to do anything. Those battalions that are in front of the guns there could have gone. That battalion in mass formation hasn't been touched yet, so they're pretty lucky. and we've taken some casualties across the line. So I think I've got two options here. One option is to volley. One option is to move, pick a force and move, and charge perhaps. But all the Russian units are all in good health. They haven't got any casualties on them. We could rally. That could invite the Russians to interrupt. I think what we might do is volley. That's a global order, so all the units will be able to act and fire. So I'll give you a summary of the volley and see what happens. Okay, so a summary of the shooting. It's up the extreme left flank here. The French fired here, and they did what they do? One casualty there and one casualty there. The big one was this one in the middle here. They did 3 casualties to that battalion there. Actually, we did 1 to the artillery, which was good. I rolled a 6 to do some damage there. And up in here, we didn't do any damage at all. Nobody took any hits. And then we did another 2 to the Jaeger. So no casualties in the middle. The defences seem to be holding. Okay, so we've got 3 units there to rally. This one here, they've taken 1 hit, and the Russians being resolute, they will rally on a 3+. So that unit rallies that hit away. So that one's gone. The artillery. Now the artillery are not resolute. Let me have a look at their card. Yeah, that's right, and they're near the enemy, so they'll rally on a 4+. Oh, and they do rally that hit away. Russians are rallying well, and then this unit's taken 3. They are resolute, resilient. Resilient. They'll rally on a 3+. Oh, and they rally all 3 away. So a good decision by the AI to do a rally. Well, that was some good rallying there, and that means that this brigade, Russian brigade protecting that defences up that corner, they are fully rallied and fully healthy again, even the guns. While I do have some French battalions which have taken 2 and 3 hits there and standing in front of them. So it's not good, but before the Russians can do any more rallying, I'm going to take the initiative back, interrupt, and I'm going to charge. So the French will charge, and it will be the 1st Brigade. The 1st Brigade is going to cost me 2 momentum because it's a complication to charge if you're not in mass formation. So I'll pay the 2, and we're going to have a charge here, and then the other 2 battalions are going to move up. So these guys, they have 1 disruption on them, but the Jaeger in front of them have got 3 on them. So I can see a bit of an advantage there. So they need to point towards them. So they're just going to wheel a little bit and then go and crunch into them. They have charged, and the Swiss and the Guard have just obliqued a little bit to the left to open up a big gap for the mighty Hussars. Okay, so my unit in their greatcoats from the 1st Brigade have charged, and we total up their combat strengths, and looking at the combat modifiers, I can't see any modifiers other than the strength of each side. So the French have taken 1 casualty, so they will be on a... So the Russians add 3, so it puts the Russians on 8, and the French add 5. So it puts the French on 7. So looking at the defender first, tied or greater, no effect on the defenders. So the attackers are still engaged because the defenders didn't stagger anything, so they will take a disorder and bounce back. Unsuccessful charge. So they stagger, they take a disorder, and they're going to come back 1. What a bummer. Had the advantage and everything, and we still couldn't break through. Well, that didn't go according to plan. Anyway, now the Russians can interrupt. So that movement has left a gap open now for the Hussars to threaten. At least they're going to threaten what's going on over there now. Also allows a place for the artillery to move up. But it's up to the Russians now, and they can decide what they're going to do. So looking at the AI, bombard and volley are out of the question, unless they want to volley with the other Jaeger that could move up. But charge if the enemy has more disruption, which is possible on the right flank, but before that there is to rally. And the only real unit that needs to rally is that Jaeger that just fought bravely. So that's what the AI is going to do. They're going to rally. So they've spent one momentum, and the Jaeger there in front there that just fought in combat will try and rally those 3 hits they've got on them. And I don't think the Jaeger are resolute or resilient or anything. So the Jaeger don't get any bonuses, so they'll be rallying on a 4+ for being near the enemy. So rally for the Jaeger. Oh my goodness. Well, they've rallied all those hits off. Now, having rallied the Jaeger there, the Russians do not have a single bit of disruption on the whole army. So their whole army is in good order and in defensive positions. So it's going to be a tough slog. We tried there, but so it's up to the French if they want to interrupt, and we will. We've got to do something. All right, so there's a lot of rallying going on at the moment. So the we're following the intelligence of the artificial intelligence, and Marshal Ney in the middle there. He's going to order the 2nd Brigade, which is in the middle here. They've taken a few hits, and we'll start with these guys. They've got 2 on them. They've got 1 permanent. Ney is there, so he is charismatic. The charismatic Ney. They can reroll failed rally attempts. They're near the enemy, so they're going to need 4s to rally. So 1 comes off. Can we rally the other one? Yes. So those 2 come off. So that unit has rallied. And the other battalion, who is in range of Ney, they've got 2 on them as well. See if they can rally. 1 comes off. Reroll for Ney being nearby. And they rally as well. So Ney has done his job. So the Russians now, it's up to them. What are they going to do? So the Russians are going to interrupt, and they've done all the rallying that they can. So their next option, okay, well, looking at the AI, the Russians have done all their volleying and bombarding and rallying and so on. The next option is to charge if the enemy has more disruption. So if we look at their couple of options, the French have got more disruption over here on the left flank. But behind these units, the Dragoons are waiting. So they're just going to stay in their defences there and hold off and not charge on the French left. But on the French right, the Jaeger have not moved. They've recovered all their morale, all their disruption. And they don't pay any because of their commander. He is a disciplinarian. So they don't add a complication for interpenetration or difficult terrain. So they could pay 2 momentum and charge with those 2 units to give them an outnumber. It will, of course, bring the Hussars into play because the Hussars are sitting behind them there, but the Russian cavalry is in the distance there as well. So it's going to make it interesting. So they're going to pay 2 momentum because of the complication. 1, 2. So they're down to 2 left. And it's a bold move. They're going to charge with these 2 units. So they don't pay the complication for the difficult terrain. So the Jaeger can go in there. They're just going to wheel and hit. And these guys will wheel a bit and hit as well. So those 2 units have charged. And these guys will probably just shift across to the left, their left a little bit, and that's their disciplinarian leader. So 2 units have charged onto 1. Okay, so the Jaeger that are out in the open, they have a strength of 6 plus 1 for outnumber, so they will have a score of 7. And the guys that are in the woods, the Jaeger in the woods, will have plus 1 for outnumber, but minus 1 for being in difficult terrain. So they'll have a score of 6. And the poor old French only have a score of 3 because they have taken 3 hits and they've taken 2 hits, and so they have a score of 4. Oh, I thought they'd taken 3 hits. They've got a score of 4. So 7 and 6 versus 4. So I'll do the French first. So they roll a 4 plus 2. So the French are on 6. And then the Jaeger that are in the woods, they're getting a plus 6 here. So they'll be on 7. So they're winning by 1. And the ones that are out in the open, they're adding 7. And they're on 7, 8, 9. Okay, so they were outscored by 2, 9 to 6, or 9 to 6 is 3. So the unit out in the open has defeated them by 3. The unit breaks. Okay, and then they're no longer engaged, so for the attackers, but their modified combat score was odd, so they both take 1 disorder. That's nice and quick and easy to work out. So they take 1 each. But they've fallen into my cunning trap. The hussars are right here, ready to pounce. And I better put up their losses there as well. So the French have taken 1 unit lost out of a allowed total of 6. So they've lost 1, a unit gone, but they're running out of momentum here on turn 3. So a successful charge from the Jaeger. They've taken a bit of disruption there, and they're facing down the hussars, but they do have cavalry support coming up behind them. So the French will interrupt. So the French are going to interrupt, and they've rallied these units up in the middle here. Marshal Ney has used his influence to get them rallied. They've failed to inflict any casualties on the defenders, but they're going to issue a charge. Now it's going to cause a complication because a couple of those units are in line, and they're going to be charging up rough ground. So it's going to cost them 3 momentum. So they're down to 1 momentum left. It's all or nothing. They're going to charge up that hill. Yes, vive la France. They have charged. It's all happening. So the guns have been charged. They fired their volley. They've done everything they could. They do get a chance to retire. So this will be my first retire. So I better consult the rules. Okay, so this is on page 75 of the rule book. So the attackers roll 1 dice each because they are infantry. So the French will roll 2 dice because there's 2 units, and the Russians will roll 1 dice. Now, if the cavalry roll, the attackers roll higher, then the guns are in trouble and will have to stay. So, well, the French have rolled a 6, so they've definitely rolled higher. Okay, so I'll do the attackers first. I'll do the column. So the column is on +6, strength of 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. Well, this isn't going to go very good for the guns. And the line is 5 plus 6 is 11. And then the guns roll, they're on strength 3. 3 plus 5 is 8. Well, they rolled pretty well. But those 2 6s will be too much for the guns. Let's work out the totals. It's 8 versus 12 and 11. So about time the French rolled some decent dice. So they have been defeated by 3, outscored by 3 or more. The guns have broken. Huzzah! Okay, so that was some fancy rolling from the French that time. So we go over to the other combat, and we've got this line, which is in good order. They've charged up the hill, but they haven't taken any casualties, and neither have the Russians. So the Russians will be on a 6, +1 for so the Russians, they're on 6. They're defending a favourable position. Yes, defending a strong position. So they will be on a 7, while the French will be on a 6. But they will be count as being in difficult terrain, so I'll make them on a 5. Going up the hill and fighting over the barricades, so it gives the Russian defenders a bit of a bonus. So we'll do the Russians first this time. So they are on a 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. That's not good. And the French are getting plus 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. So the French have won. Oh, I can't believe it. My luck is turning. So the did the defender first, so they were outscored by 1. So they take a disorder and they stagger. So they're just going to bounce back 1 in the French. They their final score was 9. 5 plus 4 is 9, so it's an odd number. So they will take 1 disorder. But they've pushed up, and it looks like the French are taking the middle Fleches. So the defences are gone. I haven't read the Hussar rules. I was too worried about the generals and the AI. So I'm just ignoring the optional rule for Hussar. I know I said Hussar, but there are some optional rules for some bonuses for units that break another unit. But I'm just keeping it simple again for now, and we'll move on. So the Russians, they have their... So it cost me a lot of momentum, 3 momentum. The complication to charge, and the other complication to charging up the hill through the rough ground. So I've run out of momentum. So it's up to the Russians, and we'll just add that unit now. And so the next, the Russians have got 2 momentum, and they could use them wisely. So they've got plenty of options. They've already done a charge because the Jaeger charged and broke a unit. And their next option then would be to go back up the top. Bombard, no. Volley. Maybe they've got a couple of units there. Maybe one of the Jaeger could volley. But next would be charge if the enemy has more disorder. They could do that with the brigade that just got pushed back. Let's have a think at the AI. I've looked at some options for the Russians. There's no bombard, they can't. Volley, not worth it. Rally, no need. Charge if enemy has more disruption. They could do 1 charge over here, but they don't have enough momentum because that line would have to come through. These guys have got 3 disorder on them. They could charge them, maybe make a mess of them, but they don't have enough momentum because they'd cost them 1 for the complication. They'd have to come through the rough ground there. What next option there would be to move, and the cavalry have sat back behind there for 2 turns. The cavalry could start to threaten, come up onto the hill, but they would be fighting in rough ground and disorder and so on, so that might not be the best bet. So I think the Russian cavalry have to make their presence felt. That's what I've decided. There's going to be a move from the Russian Lancers. They can get through that unit, and the Hussar, the Cossacks will come up as well. The Uhlans have come up here. They've had to slow down when they got near the enemy there, but these ones have avoided getting within 4 of the enemy. These guys keep falling down the hill here, but they stayed outside 4. So Uhlans and Cossacks there, and they've moved up, and that cost them 2 momentum. So that
now
would be
the status phase. Check for victory too.
At the end of the turn, both sides have lost a unit. The Russians have lost their artillery in the centre, and the 1st Brigade has lost their regular line infantry veterans over here. The French look like they might be taking the hill, but the Russians can counterpunch. So that's the end of the status phase as well. And we move on to turn 4. Okay, well, thanks for watching, viewers. That's the end of turn 3. I think the only mistake I made was I ripped myself off 1 momentum towards the end there, if you're watching carefully, but it was too late to go back and fix it. These guys took 1 disruption because they rolled an odd number in that combat. I went back and fixed that. But I think I got most things correct, and I'm pretty happy that the French have taken the hill. Well, they look like they're taking the hill. Yeah, so it looks pretty good in the centre there. Some units in reasonable order have broken through, removed that artillery, and pushed that unit back. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy how the AI is working. Yeah, so the AI has made some pretty disastrous dice rolls, and I've had a bit of luck. So, as Napoleon said, give me lucky generals. So the AI did a lot of good rallying, but a lot of poor shooting and a bit of bad combat in the middle. But I'm sure the dice will even out next turn. Let's see what happens. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time with turn 4. Bye for now.